What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Variant Live. I accidentally pressed live. I wasn't supposed to go live right now, but whatever. We're gonna do it anyway. We're still tweeting out and Facebooking, but I was playing with a new laptop that's touchscreen, and I hit a button, and here we are. You didn't need to know that, but I wanted to tell you guys. All right. So, yes, welcome to another episode of Variant Live. We got some fun stuff to talk about today, mainly DC stuff, only because they've just been in the forefront a lot lately, which is awesome. But I wish we'd have some more big Marvel news besides their movie stuff, because like their movie stuff is always at the forefront. Ant-Man just came out. They start starting to film Spider-Man Far From Home and all that good stuff. But like on their comic front, it's like, unfortunately, it's not that much of big things happening. I know Spider-Man 1 is coming out this Wednesday by Nick Spencer. I know Dan Slott took over Iron Man a few weeks back. So they have some stuff going on here and there. But overall, it seems like DC is dominating the comic book world, especially now they got that app that they're releasing, which is the DC Universe app, which has comics on it. It has movies on it, cartoons, TV shows, exclusive merchandise, chat rooms for DC fans. Pretty crazy, all that good stuff. But as you see in the title, today we're going to be talking about Batman, the Batman Wedding, the new Speed Force, the Ultraviolet Green Lantern, John Stewart. We're going to do some Ant-Man spoiler talk and some other stuff along the way. So let's get into it. Let's start this with the first thing on the title, Batman's Wedding. Now, I'm going to spoil the crap out of this issue. So if you don't want spoilers for Batman issue 50 or the Batman Wedding in general, this is your spoiler warning. So yeah, spoilers galore for Batman issue 50 and the wedding after this point. You have been warned. And I see someone asking, Henry T. Lewis, what is the new Speed Force? I'm going to explain that later, so stick around. I'll probably talk about it actually right after the Batman Wedding. Anyway, spoilers for Batman 50 once more for people who are just getting in here. Okay, so with that out of the way, as you guys may or may not know, Batman issue 50 was actually spoiled several days by the New York Times, I believe, before it was even released. The issue was released. So DC Comics, I guess, did an interview with New York Times, and they tweeted the interview they did with New York Times that contained a spoiler in the header. Like, it basically gave away the entire like big ending for the Batman Wedding, which, again, here we go, spoiler, is that Batman and Catwoman didn't end up getting married in the issue. Yeah, by the end of the issue, basically, Catwoman leaves him at the altar. So that's very unfortunate. But it's kind of has people like mixed. Some people are digging it, some people are not. Sorry, I'm moving a little post-it note around. Some people are digging it, some people are not. I personally, I like it. Now, I do understand. I've been reading his Tom King's run since issue 1. This is issue 50, so it's been like, I believe, a little over 2 years. 2 years, maybe a little over 2 years. So people kind of felt like gypped, like they were getting ripped off because, like there was this big to do. DC has been pushing this, talking about this wedding for months, or if not a year by now, talking about the Batman Catwoman, the Batman Catwoman wedding, and they've been doing like several variant issues and all that crazy stuff. I believe there was something like over 20 variant issues done by several artists for this Batman issue 50 thing, and then by the end of it, they didn't get married. They did not get married. So I could see. I do agree with the fans that are saying, like, they've hyped it up so much and all this stuff, and it didn't happen. I agree with that. I don't think if you weren't gonna have them get married in this issue, you should have hyped it up to that extent. I mean, I get it from a business standpoint, because they're thinking about, like, just publicity, money, people buying it with hype. But at the same time, you're letting down your hardcore fans who are kind of looking for that. So I don't think it should have been. I think it shouldn't have been hyped as much. With that said, I'm not upset with how the issue turned out. Like, I'm not upset, like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't get married in this issue. So mainly because of the way they did it. So if you've been reading this run, like if you just heard about issue 50 is going to be the Batman Catwoman wedding, and you just, jumped on to read that issue, you're not going to understand the big picture. Like, this is, like, Tom King is clearly the type of writer where he plants seeds and Easter eggs throughout his run. Like, he was foreshadowing a lot of stuff in this issue from, like, for months, if not years, like all the way stuff back to like issue 9 and issue 10 and all those, previous issues. So, like a more easier foreshadowing would be, in some of the recent issues, I believe Batman 49, where Joker, and again, spoilers, where Joker and Catwoman are fighting that whole issue, and Joker is basically saying the entire issue, if you get married to Batman, he's going to be happy and he won't be Batman. So, and, I can't let that happen, because, I need a Batman, for my Joker. So, you know, that's basically, and that was basically her reasoning for not marrying Bruce or Batman in issue 50. She basically has, you know, like Holly Robinson, one of her dear friends. If you guys know anything about Catwoman lore, watch the History of Catwoman episode we put up. I think I talk a little bit about her. Anyway, she's one of her dear friends, Catwoman's dear friend. She was, you know, her maid of honor. She broke her out of Arkham Asylum to, you know, help her with wedding dress stuff. But she was working behind the scenes. We find out at the end of the issue, planning, you know, little Easter eggs and like being like a what do you call it? Just like putting little stuff in her ear, just being like to saying the right stuff to get Catwoman to be like, maybe I shouldn't marry him. You know what I mean? She was saying stuff too. She's like, well, he's not going to be miserable anymore. Meaning he doesn't need to be Batman. You know, the only reason why he's with Batman is because, you know, he's still hung up on his parents dying and he's not happy and he's trying to find, you know, justice and happiness. So like that kind of stuff like that kind of happens several times throughout the issue. And by the end, she realizes, you know, like, hey, also throughout the issue, it's kind of, you see like stuff in current time, but you also see that we're getting the stories being told to us by two notes that one the Batman wrote Catwoman and one that Catwoman wrote Batman, or Selina wrote Bruce, or Bruce wrote Selina, same thing. And you're getting narration of what they wrote in their letters. And at the end of her letter, we find out, because she came to this realization, she's like, you know, I love you so much, Bruce. I love you so much that I have to, you know, I have to sacrifice, you know, I'm not even going to sacrifice you. I'm going to sacrifice like my love, because if I don't marry you, I'm not going to be happy, and I can't, you know, marry you. And then there's no Batman, because Gotham needs a Batman, like the world needs a Batman. So I really like that reasoning. I thought that was really cool. Plus, I think again, you got to understand this is the long game. And Tom King is on this book for 100 issues, so he's only halfway done. He's got another like two years left, a little over 2.5 years left on Batman. So this is the halfway point. So there's lots of stuff that could happen. I'm sure there's San Diego Comic-Con next week. They're going to announce what the next big story is, because by the end of this issue, the very last page of this issue, we see Holly Robinson go down to, you know, like I believe it's below Arkham, whatever. She meets up with a bunch of villains. She meets up with Joker, ventriloquist, who else? Gotham Girl, Dr. Psycho, I believe, and then Bane is at the center of it all. Bane's like, we're gonna break the bat, essentially. So Bane has like a master. Apparently, Bane is behind some of this, and it's pretty crazy. He's kind of been setting it up, like, you know, it's not like he set up like, oh, he's not gonna marry, you know, I set up that they're not gonna get married, but he sent Holly out basically to kind of put, you know, little worm or bugs in her ear to be like, hey, say this, so, you know, the plan will go this way. And we also see down there one of the villains is Flashpoint Batman. How that, if that's just a random dude in a Flashpoint Batman suit, if that is Flashpoint Batman, we don't know yet. There's lots of questions going forward, but again, this is just the halfway point. So I think it's pretty cool, and who knows, by the end of his 100 issue run, he, you know, they might actually get married. So I fall on the side where I enjoyed the issue. I did, especially since I've been reading since issue 1, all the foreshadowing and the kind of throwbacks, the stuff he's done in earlier issues and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. My only gripe is I do understand that, you know, let me take some water. I'm thirsty. I do understand that some people feel ripped off because DC was hyping it up a lot. But again, I really enjoyed the issue, and I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. With that said, let's move on to the next DC big news that's coming out. Basically, DC has been dropping bombs like quietly in the DC universe and in the comic world, and like, you know, just like out of nowhere, because, you know, Batman got married, everyone knew that one, but these next two were kind of just happened. So if you guys have been reading Flash War by Josh Williamson, again, spoilers for the Flash War thus far and the last several issues of the Flash, we got in Flash issue 49, we got introduced to new speed forces per se. Like, apparently it's not, the Speed Force isn't the only force in the DC universe. Long story short, in the Flash War story, basically Wally and Barry are kind of like head to head for, you know, reasons of just not getting along. So they're kind of fighting and racing each other. And Wally's trying to get, you know, his wife and kid back by going into the Speed Force like Barry did to try to save his mom. Barry's all like, yo, you shouldn't do that. Trust me, I've done it before. I know that's not going to work out. That's how I created Flashpoint. And Barry's trying to stop Wally from making the same mistake he did. And that's kind of why they're like arguing in their quote unquote at war with one another. Anyway, we find out that Zoom is behind all this. Not Yobard Thon, like Zoom, like Hunter Solomon, Zoom Reverse Flash, because there's multiple Reverse Flashes. It's really confusing. Just know it's Zoom Reverse Flash. Find out he's behind all of this, manipulating it, and he had basically Wally break the Speed Force, and that way unleash new forces. He said there's new forces in there's other forces besides the Speed Force, and he gets the power of the Sage Force and the Strength Force. So now that, which is crazy. It's like, it's kind of crazy. Like they're just dropping these bombs, because to me that's as big as like introducing new Lantern Corps. You know what I mean? Like that's like you're trying. Now there's more stuff than just the Speed Force. Like that is pretty crazy. So yeah, I mean that's how the issue ends. Flash issue 50, which is the finale to the Flash War, comes out this Wednesday. So I guess we'll find out Wednesday, but that's pretty crazy in itself. Like again, DC's just dropping like all the stuff. It's like, oh, by the way, there's not only the Speed Force, because they also hinted to the Still Force earlier. So we got the Still Force, we got the Sage Force, we got the Strength Force, and obviously the Speed Force. So that's 4 forces now that wasn't there before. Now we got them. So all kinds of good stuff going on in the Flash world right now. Also, this definitely flew under the radar. We're actually doing an episode on it this Wednesday. DC and Flash writer, DC writer Josh Williamson made the definitive official canon list of the 10 fastest characters in the DC universe that was released in DC Nation issue 2. It's kind of flown under the radar. I haven't seen many people talking about it, no one posting on it or anything like that, which is weird because again, DC Comics in the DC comic book released the 10 fastest characters in order in DC Nation issue 2. And Josh Williamson gives his reasoning and quotes in there as to who's the fastest and why. So we made an episode on it, and it's going to be up Wednesday, which is going to be really fun. So we're going to talk about that.
Our internet is choppy as a motherfucker.
It is?
Yeah, it's breaking up like now. It finally just started.
There we go. I hear our internet's choppy. Could be this laptop. So should I start over?
You can hear you.
Right?
Hear the videos.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry that if our internet connection's not good right now, guys. I'm sorry about that. But as I was saying, yeah, so the top 10 characters in the DC top 10 fastest characters in the DC universe. So we're gonna be talking about that Wednesday. We're gonna tell you everything he said, and do the list for you to give you guys the definitive in canon DC Comics list. There's no more arguing anymore. You can't be like, is Wally faster? Is Barry faster? This is it. DC published it. It's out there. If they published it, that means Dan DiDio and Jim Lee, the heads of DC, approved it. It's out in the world. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. Speaking of dropping bombs in the DC universe, though, the Ultraviolet Lantern, that just happened. And again, that just spoilers. That just happened in Justice League issue 2 by Scott Snyder. John Stewart is now an Ultraviolet Lantern. I will say I didn't read issue 3, so I don't know much about it per se. I don't know if they revealed anything more in it in this last current issue. But it's still crazy. We got a new Lantern Corps. We got an Ultraviolet Lantern, which is pretty freaking cool. We got new Speed Forces or new forces. We got a new Lantern. They just officially ranked the top 10 fastest characters in the DC universe. Batman had a wedding per se. So DC is doing all kinds of crazy stuff right now, which is pretty nutty. And it's kind of like they're kind of just doing it. Like they're not really warning people, minus the Batman wedding. The other stuff is just like, yeah, this is a thing. Because also in Flash issue 49, spoilers, but it was confirmed, 2 things was confirmed in there, that definitively that Superman is not faster than Barry Allen or Wally West. He actually tries to catch them and try to stop them from fighting and racing, but he says, I can't keep up. He literally says, I can't keep up. And then also at the end of that issue, it's, well, yeah, I'll tell it to you for it's a spoiler kind of to like Wednesday's episode, but I'm gonna tell it to you anyway. Barry's trying to, catch Wally, and Wally takes off, and Barry actually says in the comic book, he goes, Barry, please, I can't keep up. Meaning, right there, Wally West Flash, the original redheaded Wally West Flash, is the fastest character in the DC universe, and definitely the fastest Flash. So there you go. It's a little tease for Wednesday, but still watch Wednesday's episode. All right, so that's it for the little DC comic book news coming out. What I'm gonna go into now is Ant-Man spoilers. I gave a spoiler-free review on Saturday. Now I'm gonna give my spoiler-free thought or my spoiler thoughts right now. So if you haven't seen Ant-Man, dip and watch later, or come back after you watch it and all that stuff. But now I'm going to talk about some spoilers for Ant-Man. So Ant-Man, I liked it. I didn't hate it at all by any means. I just thought it was very much like, yeah, this is all right. I would not remotely put it in my top 10 favorite MCU movies, But it was fun. It was a fun movie. I thought the best quality was really fun. It was like lighthearted, very simplistic, not much to think about with it. It was just have a fun time with the movie. But like I said in my spoiler review, for those of you who watched it or who haven't watched it, my main gripe was the villain. Like, she wasn't like Ghost. She wasn't like Ava. She wasn't really a villain per se. I mean, she was doing bad things and stuff. So technically, I guess she was a villain because she was the whole point of the movie is basically the main plot of the movie is Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym are trying to get his wife, her mom, out of the quantum realm. That's the whole focal point, and they're trying to do this, with this device, and they keep shrinking his lab. And but Ava, we find out that Ava, Ghost, needs to steal it and go into the quantum realm and all that stuff so she can heal herself because apparently, I guess Hank Pym and her dad worked on the quantum realm stuff back in the day. Long story short, her dad tried to do it solo once Hank Pym fired him. Didn't work out well. Lab experiment explosion. Her parents died, and she got these like phasing powers, and now she's slowly dying, and she needs to steal his lab and go in the quantum realm and all that stuff to fix herself. But Hank Pym and Wasp are like, no, because we need to save his wife, her mom. So that's kind of the thing. So it's like she's not really a villain per se. I mean, she is, but she's just trying to save herself. I don't know. I just thought like I said in the episode, I thought if they did something, because the Ghost from the comics is awesome, freaking awesome. He's scary. He has a cool motive. It's not like the most original thing ever, but it's a cool motive, especially for the MCU. Nothing has really been done like that in the MCU. And all that stuff. So I thought if you would have made him like this guy who hates corporations and just wants to bring him down, or an assassin or mercenary who gets hired by people to bring down corporations, and then sometimes does it on his own accord because he just doesn't like the way they're working, that would have been awesome. Plus, like, if you guys watch the Origin of Ghost episode, his whole backstory with the company like tricking him to work for them harder to develop this ghost phasing tech by paying a woman to love him, and then he only finds that out later. And it's actually a little bit complex and really cool. And I thought that would have been awesome to do that in the movie. And you could have done that still making her, a female, just swap it where they hired a dude to like fall in love with her and stuff. So if they, I don't understand why they didn't do that. It doesn't matter what gender you are, you still could have told that story. So they basically just like took, the name Ghosts and her phasing power and his phasing power and put it to a completely new character. So that's my biggest gripe. Like, and I'm not the guy who's like, it's not exactly like the comic books. Like, I rarely ever say that. It's just like what they did, I didn't think was cool enough to justify changing the original origin. Like if it was cool and they did something else that was cool and worked, I thought I'd be fine. But I just didn't think it worked all that well. And I know, and I also said, I know it didn't push. I felt like it didn't push the main story, the big MCU picture further. And I know some people were saying, they're like, it did though. He was touching on the quantum realm and how that's going to have effects on the MCU going forward. I'm like, I guess, like, sure, but still, like, as a movie, like, I would have much rather, her have some kind of cool agenda or motive, a cooler motive that I personally think with Ant-Man and Wasp, and then the whole getting Janet Van Dyne out of the quantum realm as a side story. Personal opinion, but again, I enjoyed the movie. My throat's been really scratchy today. I don't know if it's allergies or what, but it's like I'm getting like cotton mouth. But yeah, again, I like the movie. I thought Lewis was really funny. He has a rant just like in the first movie. Paul Rudd was made to play Ant-Man. Really cool. Evangeline Lilly was awesome as Wasp. All the stuff I said in my spoiler-free review. I will say though, I do think that Ant-Man is one of those characters who works better as a side character in other movies. Like, again, I enjoy the Ant-Man movies, and I thought the first one was actually better than the second one. But I think Ant-Man works. Like, I still think my favorite portrayal of Ant-Man was in Civil War. Like, even he wasn't in it that long, but like when he's introduced to Cap, or when he gets really big, it's like, oh, ho, 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 ho. And Spider-Man is doing that whole thing. You guys remember that big movie? And he's trying to like, trip him, or he goes into Iron Man's suit and he's like, this is your conscience. We don't talk much lately. Like, all that stuff I thought was like awesome. Like, that was the best Ant-Man I've ever seen, in my personal opinion. But yeah, that's my thoughts for that. I do also want to mention, this actually just broke like an hour or so ago. The Spawn movie. We got new Spawn movie news. So let me look at this real quick, because I forget what character he's going to be playing before I tell you who, even though some of you might already know. Let's research. Let's do that. Spawn movie. Da-da-da. Before I tell you who's Let's see. Let's pull up an article, shall we? Shall we, guys? It's live. We could do that sort of thing. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, there we go. That's what I thought. Okay, so Spawn, as we all know, a few weeks back, Jimmy Fox was confirmed as he will be playing Spawn. He will be Spawn himself. But now we got another huge casting with Jeremy Renner being cast as the Twitch for Spawn. Those of you who don't know, Twitch is one of the cops and detectives in the movie. So he's actually, from what I heard from Todd McFarlane say, is Twitch is actually probably going to be, the main character, or definitely one of the main characters in the movie, but you'll see him way more than you'll see Spawn or Jamie Foxx. So this is pretty huge. And it's pretty crazy that, because for those of you know, this is a Blumhouse production, meaning it's going to be a shorter budget film, where superhero movies are usually like in the tens of millions, like freaking like Infinity War was like 200 million plus, like Spider-Man Homecoming is probably like anywhere from 150 million to 200. Like all these big Marvel movies and superhero movies and DC movies, they're usually over 100 million, safe to say, all of them, right? If not breaching 200 million. This movie Spawn is going to be done for anywhere from around 10 to 15 million. So they're doing a superhero movie for 10 to 15 million. Now, 10 to 15 million is a lot of money, but again, when you're talking about all these other DC Marvel movies being done for tens of millions of dollars, that is not a lot of money. So that's pretty. And to get these freaking Jamie Foxx, huge actor, Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye himself, huge actor. So to get these guys in this movie, that's saying a lot. I guess that means the script is really good, or they have a lot of faith in the movie. But I'm very, very curious because Todd McFarlane is writing and directing it. So curious. Hopefully next week at San Diego Comic-Con we get more news. Speaking of San Diego Comic-Con next week, San Diego Comic-Con, we will be attending San Diego Comic-Con next week. We will be there all the days. We'll be there from Wednesday, which is preview night, all the way to Sunday. So expect lots of live streams, lots of tweets, lots of just information galore. So if you're not following us on our social media, like our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, or our website, we'll be posting lots of stuff on our website, variantcomics.com. Do that so you could be informed for all the latest info that's going to be coming out of Comic-Con. We're going to be in Hall H. We're going to be there for the Warner Brothers panel. So we'll be breaking news for Shazam, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, all the new footage and stuff they'll show there. We're going to be at the Young Justice panel where they're going to show footage 6 months before its actual release next year. We're going to be at Sideshow Collectibles. We're going to be doing lots of toy and collectible stuff, just all sorts of fun stuff. Comic news. We'll be getting interviews with DC artists, Marvel artists, all sorts of fun stuff. We're going to constantly be updating on all forms of social media, as well as doing live streams on YouTube right here. So don't expect that to be, maybe doing something from the red carpet at at San Diego Comic-Con with something breaks. I'll hop on here real quick and give you guys the news first. But with that said, let's open this up to Q&A real quick before I get out of here. So if you guys have any questions, ask below, and I will do my darndest to answer it. That's what I will do for you guys. Let's see. Michael Rapatas says Firestorm history. Soon, my friend. Soon. Let's see. When will Young Justice be released? 2019. No specific date, but apparently the beginning of 2019, which is why it's a big deal that at Comic-Con they're going to be previewing footage. Daniel Ross, there is already. Yes, I thought so. There is a history of Firestorm already. So just variant history of Firestorm, you'll find it. I was gonna say I already did it, but we've done so many episodes and I've talked about so many superheroes every week, and over the years I don't remember what I had done and haven't done. All right. Oh, that's something I guess I could talk about real quick. Spider-Man Far From Home. It was revealed, shocker, that Tom Holland spoiled the title for Spider-Man Far From Home on purpose. That was strategic, as I actually said in a variant live stream. I said that was there's no way he did that again. Kevin Feige confirmed that was a thing. What is it? Okay. Everyone said that was the thing that he spoiled it, but it's true that he was indeed did that on purpose, basically what I'm trying to say. So that is very funny because it just seemed like too much. It's like, I know he's the spoiler king, but that's just crazy because he literally showed the iPad after saying I can't show you the script. So that was strategic to build hype, and that way Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige could control the flow of information because they're believe they're already shooting. They're on their second or third day of shooting, so they didn't want it to leak. They want to leak it themselves so they can control the information, which is very smart. So yeah, it was a great way to play up on his spoiler king stuff. Let's see. Steven Cisneros. I can't pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Really, is Captain Britain joining the MCU? I know that's a rumor. I'd be down for it. Sure, why not? I don't know if that's true, but yeah. Kevin Connor 23, Mysterio. I'm assuming you're talking about the villain for Spider-Man Far From Home. Jake Gyllenhaal's apparently playing Mysterio, so I know I'd want to see that. I'd rather him play Batman. That was my big thing in the Matt Reeves Batman movie, but I'll take him as Mysterio. I love Mysterio. It's pretty cool. Let's see what else in here. Daniel Ross, do you think X-Men / the Fantastic Four would fit in the MCU? Of course. I think they could easily put that in the MCU. Fantastic Four for sure. X-Men for sure. I mean, they've left it pretty open. I mean, it's, kind of they'll just pull what they did with Spider-Man, as just like everyone pretty much by now, we've had so many X-Men and Fantastic Four movies, everyone more or less knows what they're all about. So you can kind of just, give a brief like, oh, they got their powers in space. Oh, they have an X gene, the mutant gene. So that's how they have power. So you could introduce them easily. And that would be fantastic. I hope the X-Men and Fantastic Four are huge parts of MCU Phase 4. Armando Lopez, History of Hellboy. Once the new movie comes out next year, around that time. So yes. Who can play Wolverine? Says S Mr. 29. I wanted Tom Hardy. He's doing Venom, but I thought Tom Hardy because he's short and stocky. I thought that would have been great. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Yes. Christian Rubio, R.I.P. Steve Ditko. Yes, that he unfortunately passed last week. Steve Ditko, man, freaking co-creator of, I believe, Doctor Strange, most famously Spider-Man. That's insane. He's definitely died at 90, I believe. He will be missed, but his work will live on forever and ever. I mean, again, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, he will not be forgotten by any means. My kids will, be reading and looking at his work from Spider-Man and all the stuff he's done. So, that's a good way to look at it, but it is a loss, and that is very unfortunate, but very grateful for all the contributions he's made to the world of comics, because again, co-created Spider-Man. He's the guy who, Stan Lee brought in after Kirby draw a too handsome Peter Parker. He's like, no, he's supposed to be an ugly teenager. Jack Kirby draws things too handsome and heroic, so he got Steve Ditko to design and draw Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So Spider-Man's one of my all-time favorite characters, so he'll definitely be missed. It's very, very sad, but he will live on through comic books. That's a good thing. His art and legacy will live on, so that's awesome. Speaking of, I do want to, or saying, talking about stuff of that sort, I do want to thank every one of you for the thoughts, the thoughts and prayers for my dad. As I guys told you in a week or so ago, my dad is still currently hospitalized. He's going through some stuff. Not going to really get into details, but he wasn't doing great. Let's just say there wasn't good news. He's apparently, the doctors and stuff are saying he is slowly getting better. He's not going home anytime soon, but he's slowly getting better. But you guys were awesome. Basically, all the comments in the episode I mentioned it briefly, like in a sentence, was basically get well and prayers. So you guys are the best. Me and my family want to thank you guys so much for that. That just know that I read all those, and it kind of hit me in the heart spot a little bit. So I just want to thank you guys for that. But someone's saying, how's he doing now? Progress. Thanks again. Thanks for asking. I love you guys. Are so awesome that you guys actually care. He's slowly doing better. It's a slow up, but again, he is, it's up. You know what I mean? Up is up. So again, he's not going home like anytime soon, but progress is progress. I will take it. So yeah, thank you guys for asking and all your thoughts and prayers. And yes, you guys are great. But I'm actually, with that, I'm going to hashtag pray for Arris' father. You guys are awesome. Oh man, let's get that trending on Twitter. That'd be hilarious. Not only hilarious, that'd just be awesome. But with that said, though, I'm going to wrap this episode of Variant Live. I'm not talking about My Hero Academia because they threw the episode up like late. Like they skipped like 2 weeks. and then they just kind of throw it up. I think they're like behind on their dubbing or something, their English dubbing or whatever. I think they're just behind their animation. So normally I would talk about My Hero Academia, but like, no, it's because they haven't been throwing episodes up on time, so or at all. They've been taking like well, this week they kind of threw it up late, but they took like a 2-week break, so it's like you never know when you're gonna get a new episode. Yeah, I'll talk about that next week because I do believe they just put one up early this morning, late last night, that I found out through the grapevine, but it was already too late because I had to write episodes for the week. But with that said, guys, that's going to bring this episode of Variant live to a close. But this Wednesday, again, remember, I do want to remind you all that we're going to be talking about the 10 fastest characters in the DC universe. And it's not just my opinion this time. Usually when we do top 10s, it's like my opinion and stuff like that. This is like canon. Josh Williamson, Flash writer, Justice League No Justice writer, Josh Williamson, famous DC writer, was quoted in an interview in a DC Comics thing, as I said earlier. And we have the official canon definitive list now. So Wednesday, I'll be talking about that. But until then, guys, see you guys next time.